Now, we're all getting older, and these bodies of ours are wearing out, but we all want to age gracefully, right? Well, we're working our way through the 9 pillars of health, and this is pillar number 8, which is movement. We've got to move our bodies. It's every bit as fundamental as nutrition and sleep. Welcome to the Christian Healthy Lifestyle Podcast, where I help Christians over 40 maximize their health potential so they can age gracefully and live abundantly. I'm your host, David Sandstrom, naturopathic doctor and biblical health coach, and this is episode number 163. Well, we're working our way through the 9 pillars of health, and this is pillar number 8, which is movement. Now, of course, we're going to be talking about exercise, but I want to talk about a little bit more than just that, and I want to talk about some movement that goes on inside of our bodies. So make sure you hang in there to the end, because I'm going to be talking about some stuff that is not shared very often. So exercise and movement is not just something that's nice to do or that we should do. Our bodies have a requirement for movement. Now, I often say in the show, we maximize our health potential by aligning our lives more fully with God's natural design for spirit, mind, and body. And our bodies are designed for movement. If we're engaging in a sedentary lifestyle, we're working against that design. Now, we're all getting older, and these bodies of ours are wearing out, but we all want to age gracefully, right? So we live and die at the cellular level. And in order to age gracefully, we want to promote cellular regeneration and slow down or inhibit cellular degeneration. Now, without adequate movement, we inhibit the regeneration process and accelerate the degeneration process. It's exactly the opposite of what we want. So we've got to move our bodies. It's every bit as fundamental as nutrition and sleep. Now, there's many benefits to physical exercise. I'm sure you've heard a lot of them, but let's just cover a few here. Exercise improves cardiovascular health. It strengthens the heart muscle. It will lower blood pressure. It'll improve blood circulation. It reduces the risk of heart disease. Exercise supports mental health and brain function. It improves our mood and reduces anxiety and depression. Exercise immediately increases neurotransmitters like dopamine and hormones like serotonin and noradrenaline. Those are our feel-good hormones and our feel-good neurotransmitters, and that happens instantly with exercise. Not only that, but exercise actually enhances or improves the volume of the hippocampus. Now, the hippocampus is the part of the brain that's responsible for long-term memory, and that actually gets strengthened and enlarged during exercise. And the prefrontal cortex also gets strengthened, which is responsible for cognitive functions like decision-making and reasoning. So exercise is very beneficial to the brain. Now, those parts of the brain are the areas that are most susceptible to cognitive decline with aging. Now, if we want to age gracefully and slow cognitive decline, we do well to engage in regular physical activity. Physical activity and mental acuity go hand in hand. Last spring, I had an aha moment. My wife and I were celebrating our 25th wedding anniversary, and we did a trip to Athens, Greece. And one of the things we did when we were in Athens was we visited the Pantathenic Stadium. Now, that's a 90,000-seat stadium built out of solid marble. It's about the size of a big college football stadium. So when I was sitting in the stadium, I was just pondering things, and it just kind of dawned on me that the Greeks really excelled at philosophy and intellectual endeavors. They produced philosophers like Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, and even Hippocrates was a Greek. And they also excelled at physical fitness. The Olympic Games started in Greece. Now, the Pantathenic Stadium, shown in this picture right here in the video version of the podcast, was originally built in 514 BC. And they held athletic competitions there every 4 years, and they called them the Olympiad. Now, I'm sitting there in this 90,000-seat marble sports stadium, and it dawned on me. It's not a coincidence that Greeks treasured physical fitness and they excelled at intellectual thought at the same time, because exercise and physical activity promote mental acuity and cognition. Now we have the science to back that up and explain why that's true. But if we want to age gracefully and maintain our mental acuity and cognition as we get older, we do well to engage in regular physical activity. Now, if you're concerned about cognitive decline as you get older, of course, I recommend a regular exercise program, but you can take things to the next level with some targeted supplementation. I've got a cognitive support protocol on my Fullscript supplement dispensary. I've got some nootropics on there. A nootropic is something or a nutrient that supports brain health, enhances memory, and improves cognitive function. I've curated some great products like organic coffee blend with lion's mane and chaga mushrooms on there. It's by Four Sigmatic. Excellent product to increase focus and concentration. Both of those mushrooms have been clinically proven to enhance focus and cognition, mental clarity. I've got a product on there that's royal jelly, which comes from honey, and it's really good to boost your focus and your concentration. In fact, I've got a box of it right here. It's made by Beekeepers Natural, and it's called Brain Nootropic, and it's royal jelly. It comes from bees and comes from honey, and it will really enhance your focus and mental clarity. I always take one before I do one of these episodes. It's great for that. I've also got some focus and energy clarity shots on there from Quicksilver Scientific that has several nootropic herbs in there and some caffeine. So there's some great products on there. Now, my protocols are for my listeners only. If you've already created a Fullscript account using my dispensary link, just log in and look at the multi-patient plans, and you'll see the cognitive support protocol there. If you don't have an account, you can create a free one by going to my website, christianhealthylifestyle.com/protocols, set up a free account, and you'll lock in a 10% discount for life, as well as free shipping over $50. So you have my permission to pause this episode, go create an account, and come back. I promise I'll be waiting here for you. So exercise also helps to maintain a healthy weight. It burns calories, of course. It increases our metabolism, and it helps to build lean muscle mass. And with more lean muscle mass, that also increases our metabolism, our resting metabolic rate as well, because muscle burns calories at a greater rate than fat does. So that's an important part of aging gracefully. Exercise will also boost energy levels. Exercise improves endurance. It increases oxygen flow throughout the body. It enhances cellular energy production, which is huge. It induces better quality sleep. Exercise will also strengthen the immune system. Exercise increases the production of antibodies, which are part of the adaptive immune system, and it also just improves our overall immune response in general. Also, exercise reduces the risk of chronic diseases. You can lower your risk of type 2 diabetes. You can lower your risk of cancer. It helps to prevent high blood pressure, hypertension, which is beneficial for heart disease support. And it does that by helping to drive blood sugar into the cells where it belongs, from the blood into the cells where it belongs. So it's going to help with your insulin resistance, and it's going to improve your triglyceride to HDL ratio. Now, fasting insulin and triglyceride to HDL ratio are one of the two of the best markers to measure your overall metabolic health. And exercise, of course, improves both of those in a pretty dramatic fashion as well. Exercise also improves balance and flexibility. Now, these are two of the things that we should be concerned about when we're getting older. It will reduce our risk of falls. One of the worst things that can happen to an elderly person is to fall and break a hip. We've probably all heard of or had a loved one that fell down and broke a hip and ended up hospitalized. And that's a really traumatic event for an older person. And the recovery is long. And sometimes people even die in a hospital from a broken hip. I would suggest that there's a lot of toxicity going on in the hospital when they do surgery. They're getting anesthesia and a whole host of drugs, and that sometimes will push somebody over the edge and actually cause a fatal event. So the last thing we want to do is fall and break a hip when we're older. Exercise will enhance joint mobility. It improves posture. Exercise also increases longevity. It'll reduce your risk of dying from anything. It reduces all-cause mortality. It improves the quality of life, especially the last few years of life. Now, I want to share a personal story here. My dad died at age 87, and he had Alzheimer's. So the last 6-8 years of his life were not too productive. He was dealing with some pretty severe cognitive issues. And it's sad to watch when somebody just declines that way. My mom also died at 90, and she had severe dementia. And about the last 10 years of her life was really, really unproductive. And it was hard for her, and it was hard on the family. And it's really heart-wrenching to watch your loved ones go through that. And that's one of the reasons why I do what I do here, is I want to help people experience more vitality and more energy and be more aware of their surroundings and hold on to their mental acuity well into their later years. And so that the time that we spend in decline is very much shortened. I want to be active into my 90s and beyond, and then decline quickly and die in my sleep one night. That's the best way to go, and that's what I'm after here by doing this show. I want to help people do just that. So, what can we do to get more exercise, get more movement in our daily routines? Well, of course, the first thing that comes to mind is you can join a gym. Now, you don't have to join a gym. I have a gym membership. I like going. I like the atmosphere. I like the focus, the intensity that I enjoy in the gym. But that's not necessary. Now, if you do decide to do a gym membership, be careful when you hire a personal trainer, because a lot of these personal trainers are very young, in their early 20s, let's say, and they tend to recommend the same types of exercises that work for them as they do for us in the over 40 crowd. And the truth of the matter is, we can't handle the intensity, the weight, and the duration that a 21-year-old can. If you're over 40, trying to age gracefully, the workouts that's good for them is not good for us. And you got to be careful when you're hiring a personal trainer. They may not be aware of that. Now, so if you're in your 40s, 50s, 60s, and beyond, long workouts that younger people can tolerate are probably going to be counterproductive for us. So be careful when it comes to hiring a personal trainer. Now, without a gym membership, we can still incorporate a lot of movement into our daily routine at home and when we're out and about. We can do body weight movement in the house. We can do squats, push-ups, lunges, planks, burpees if you're up to that. You could do knee raises. You can walk in place. You can go up and down the stairs. There's a lot of things you can do just using your own body weight. If you want to take it up a notch at home, buy an exercise ball. And if you want to add to that, you could buy a couple of dumbbells or a couple of kettlebells, and you'd be amazed at how many exercises you can do right here in your home without even leaving the house. So you may have heard this, that sitting is the new smoking. So if you're in an office job where you're sitting for long periods of time, you've got to be proactive. You got to do something about that, because even going to the gym, let's say 3 or 4 times a week for 30 minutes at a time, is not going to offset the adverse impact of 8 hours a day in an office chair. It's just too sedentary. We weren't designed to sit in those office chairs all day long. So if you sit at work, I recommend setting a timer to go off every hour, and that'll be a reminder for you to stand up, stretch, walk a little bit, go down the hall, do whatever you have to do to get some movement into your day. Don't sit for long periods of time. It's very detrimental. Now, you can get a stand-up desk, and you can swap from sitting to standing, but the truth of the matter is, I think I'm at my stand-up desk right now, and I think it's great for posture. But if you're doing that, you're just moving from one stationary position to another. The stand-up desk alone is not going to incorporate that much more movement. Your legs will get a little more exercise by standing, and standing is much more natural for the way our bodies are built, but that's really not enough. I have a treadmill, so when I'm working on the show down here in my studio, I'm sometimes walking on my treadmill. Now, I started to do this show with the treadmill going, but it makes some noise, and I didn't want it to compromise the audio quality of the show, so I set it aside. But a lot of times when I'm working on the podcast down here, doing my editing and my other things to produce the shows, I'm walking on my treadmill, so I'm getting work done, but I'm getting exercise at the same time. It's pretty cool. It's just a small little treadmill. It lays flat on the floor. There's no front to it. It fits right underneath my desk, and it works great. Another thing you can do if you're sitting at a desk all day long is sit on an exercise ball. you'll be getting a lot more muscle contraction that way. You'll engage your core to stay upright. Your posture will be better. You'll be using your leg muscles. You'll be doing a little balance at the same time. It's a really good way to incorporate movement in your day if you're spending a lot of time at a desk. Now, it may not sound like much, but you add 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, add all that up, it's pretty significant. Some more ways to fit some movement into our regular routine is walk every day. Our bodies were made for walking, especially after dinner. Go on at least a 10-minute walk. You'd be surprised if you did a 10-minute walk after dinner every day. Do that for 90 days, and I'll guarantee you'll reduce your A1C, which is really a significant health marker. It'll reduce your fasting insulin, and one of the best ways to do that is just go for a little walk after a meal. It's not difficult. If it's raining outside, you can maybe go up and down the stairs. Do something. Do some jumping jacks in place. Do something to elevate your heart rate a little bit. Doesn't have to be a lot, and you'll see results. If you're at work, maybe you can take a walking lunch. If you're going somewhere to run some errands, pick the worst spot in the parking lot. Park way out in the end of the parking lot and walk inside. You'll get a few extra steps in. Also, if you've got an elevator at work, take the stairs. Why not? Get a little exercise in while you're doing your normal routine. If you're going to have a meeting, maybe you can talk to the other people in the meeting and say, hey, can we walk outdoors and talk about this whatever topic we're going to be covering? If the weather permits, that's a great way to go. You'll be getting some fresh air as well. Now, another important part of movement is moving our lymphatic fluid. Now, that's what I was talking about earlier in the show when I said we're going to be talking about movement inside our bodies. Now, our lymph system is very important, and it has two primary functions. One is it scans for pathogens and activates the immune system if necessary, and the other is it facilitates detoxification by removing cellular waste and toxins. So an important part of a healthy lifestyle is ensuring that our lymph fluid doesn't become stagnant and it keeps moving. Now remember, this is pillar number 8, which is movement. That's what this episode is about. So let's talk about moving our lymph fluid. Water inside the body has different names depending on where it's located. If there's water in the blood, we call it plasma. If there's water around our cells, we call it interstitial fluid. And if there's water in the lymph vessels, we call it lymph fluid, or lymph for short. Now, the lymph fluid gets carried through the lymphatic system and is funneled into the general circulation by way of the right and left subclavian veins, which are near the collarbone, just above the heart. That's in the upper end of our bodies, right? So the lymph fluid has to work against gravity and move its way up most of the time. So our lymphatic system doesn't have a pump like the heart that pumps the blood. So how does our lymph fluid move? It moves through muscle contraction. As we move and stretch our bodies, the flexing of our muscles applies pressure to the lymph veins and the lymph nodes, and that moves the fluid throughout the body. Now, why would our omniscient creator create our bodies in such a seemingly inefficient fashion? Well, I believe he's telling us to get up off the couch and start moving. Our bodies are designed to move, and this is one of the reasons I say that. We can take a lesson from Proverbs 6:6. Go to the ant, you sluggard, consider its ways and be wise. So ants are always on the move, right? And don't forget, God gave Adam a job before the fall. Genesis 2:15. The Lord God took the man and put him in the Garden of Eden to work it and take care of it. And that was pre-fall. That was even pre-Eve. The idea of Eve didn't come around till 3 verses later in Genesis 2:18. The Lord God said, "It is not good for the man to be alone. I will make a helper suitable for him." So before sin entered the equation, before the fall of the human race, God had an assignment and a job for Adam to do. He was to take care of the garden and tend the garden. He was supposed to have movement built into his days. That's God's perfect design. Proverbs chapter 24, verses 33 and 34, it's kind of amusing. A little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the hands to rest, and poverty will come on you like a thief, and scarcity like an armed man. So once again, we see that if we live our lives in a fashion that's consistent with biblical teaching, it's to our benefit. Remember, I often say in the show, when God tells us to do something, it's for our benefit. If he tells us to avoid something, it's for our protection. We do well to pay attention to that. So the lymph fluid moves because of body movement. And that movement is unidirectional. It only goes one way. As pressure is exerted on those lymph veins through muscle contraction, it squeezes the fluid through those one-way check valves that prevent the fluid from moving backwards. It's always working its way towards the heart. So it's critically important that that system doesn't stagnate. If it does, it'll compromise our immune function, and it'll create toxic buildup in the body, as well as edema, which is swelling. So we've got to get that fluid moving, and we've got to get it back into the general circulation where the liver and the kidneys can remove those toxins and process them for elimination. It's a very important part of a healthy lifestyle. So how do we get our lymph fluid moving? Well, of course, I already said it, through exercise, right, and a stretching routine. That's one way to do it. Another way to bring things up to the next level is by a rebounder. Those small mini trampolines, you can jump on those, and when you're in the air, in that moment of weightlessness on the trampoline, the body is actually in free fall, and the force of gravity is not felt during that moment, and that allows the lymph fluid to move through those one-way valves a little more easily, and it flows more freely during that moment of weightlessness. So a trampoline or a rebounder is very effective at moving lymph fluid. Now, just to illustrate this point a little bit, because I'm a geek and I'm a pilot, I know a little bit about the physics involved here. So when the astronauts are in orbit, if they're in the space station orbiting the Earth, we might see videos of them floating around the spaceship. It's not because they departed the Earth's gravitational pull. They're still very much in it, but they're simply in free fall. And the spaceship is moving so fast that by the time they fall to the Earth, they've flown by it. That's orbit. So an astronaut in free fall acts like gravity doesn't exist, but it does. But their bodies feel like it doesn't. The same thing happens on a tiny little moment-by-moment basis when we're jumping on a trampoline. So that's not my favorite way to move the lymph, though, because it can be pretty high impact. If you have any joint issues or especially back issues, jumping on a trampoline might be too much. I like a product called the Chi Machine. Now, I've owned my Chi Machine for quite a few years, and I want to show it to you. It's right here. All right, so this is my Chi Machine. So you set this thing on the floor, and your ankles go in right here in these two cradles, and then you turn it on. You lay flat or in the horizontal supine position, and you turn this thing on, very low setting, and it swings your body, swings your legs. And what happens is when your ankles are sliding from side to side like this, your whole body starts to swing in like a swimming fish motion. And that really gets lymph moving because it's taking that work that needs to take place to move the lymph fluid against gravity away because you're in the supine or horizontal position. So I highly recommend getting a Chi Machine if you care about your health. You go to my website, christianhealthylifestyle.com/resources, and I've got a link there. It'll take you to Amazon where you can buy one of those Chi Machines. I've owned my Chi Machine for more than 15 years, and it's worked flawlessly. There's been no problems with it. It's a high quality piece of equipment. If you want to age gracefully and live abundantly, I recommend getting one. It's not that expensive either. It's a pretty cheap investment in your health. Now, here's another way to get your lymph fluid moving. Now, I'm going to introduce a term here. I'm going to call it L-COT, L-C-O-T, Lymph Channel Optimization Technique. So what you do here is you massage the clusters of lymph nodes throughout the body. There's lymph nodes all over the body. There's somewhere between 600 and 700 lymph nodes, but they tend to cluster in a handful of areas in the body. So if you massage those areas properly, you can really go a long way towards moving your lymph. So the way we do this, a L-COT circuit, it looks like this. You start with the collarbone, and the order is important here. So I have my palm. If you're listening to the audio version, I'm going to try to describe this as best I can. But you might want to check out the video version of this podcast on my website or on YouTube. So I've got my right hand over my left collarbone, and the palm of my hand is below the collarbone, and my fingers are above. There's a lot of lymph nodes centered right in this area. So I'm going to rub in circular motions for like 10 circles. All right, you can go both ways. It doesn't matter. You can even go up and down if you want, but you want to massage that area about 10 circles, and then do the same thing on the other side with left hand on the right hand side of the body, just above the collarbone, on the neck. You can move your head around, stretch things out a little bit, even move your arm if you want. Just get things moving around there, and that will help to loosen up the lymph flow. Now, the second area is under the corner of your mandible. The mandible is the lower part of your jaw. There's a corner right here where the bone takes a bend. So put your fingers down there and rub in circular motions. You can go in circles, and you can do both of these at the same time, by the way, or you can go up and down. It really doesn't matter. I like the circular motion. It feels good. And this is where a lot of lymph fluid will become stagnant. Now, after you do that 10 times, take your fingers and spread them apart like the Spock, live long and prosper, with 2 fingers on one side, 2 fingers on the other side, make a V, and you go in between your ear. You put your ear in that little V, and you rub up and down because there's a bunch of lymph nodes there as well. Okay, 10 strokes this way. Okay, now what we've done is we've released the main drain. Remember I said the lymph fluid dumps right by the collarbone into the heart, into the general circulation? Well, you've got to release the main drain first, and that's why we start with the collarbone. So the lymph veins are a lot like the plumbing in your house. Now, if you had a clog out by the street where the main sewer pipe is, well, the water's going to back up, and you might think that you have a toilet clog. So you're working on unclogging your toilet, but nothing's happening because the clog is out by the street. Nothing's moving yet. So when you clear the clog by the street, the water from the toilet will automatically drain. The same is true here. We want to go all the way down to the end of those lymph channels, which is right above the heart here, and start there, because if we don't unclog that, with the work we're going to do in those other areas is less efficient. The lymph has nowhere to go if we haven't unclogged the end of the pipe. Make sense? All right. So the third area that we look at is right between the pectoral muscle on the chest and the deltoid in the shoulder. It's right about here. It's right where the shoulder meets the chest, and you're going to rotate in circles again. You can go back and forth, rub here. Right now I have my arm out horizontally, and my palm is up, and I'm rubbing in circles right in that area at the end of my deltoid and right where the deltoid comes in to the pectoral muscle. Okay, I'm rubbing there, and then same thing on the other side. Palm up, arm out, same thing on this side. A lot of lymph nodes there. All right, so now we move from there to the abdomen. Now you take one hand on top of your navel and the other hand below the navel. So the one palm is going to be just above your belt or the waistline, and the other is going to be just below the sternum with the belly button in between. I'll try to back up so you can see this. So you're going to rotate. You can go up and down, left and right, whatever feels good to you, with some pretty firm pressure here, because there's a lot of lymph nodes right here. Some of the biggest ones in the whole body are right here in the abdomen. So wouldn't it make sense that God would put a lot of lymph nodes where we use our muscles to breathe? That's how we get the lymph fluid moving, is muscle contraction. But we can help that process along. We come alongside our body's natural design by doing this lymph channel optimization technique that I'm showing you right now. The next area we move on to is the groin. It's right where the leg, the crease of your pants, right where the leg meets the groin. You want to rub down there, circles. I can't really show you this one because my camera won't go that low, but it's right at the crease of where your leg meets the groin. Okay, you're going to rub there in circles, both directions, up and down if you want. Okay, that 10 times, 10 circles. And then the last point is behind the knee. I can't show you this one either, but you want to bend at the knee. I'm going to go this way so I'll get closer to the microphone. Bend your knees a little bit. Bend at the waist. You always want to tighten your abs when you're bending over. Bend at the waist and get your palms behind the knee and rub up and down the crease behind your knee. Right? Do that 10 times, and now you've completed the cycle. So the last thing you want to do after this is, after I finish my routine, I get on my chi machine. But if you don't have a chi machine, the best way to do this would be to just stand up on your tippy toes and down. Don't jump, but just raise your calf muscles, raise your heels off the ground, keep your toes on the ground, and just go up and down, shake your hands, move your arms a little bit, rotate your hands around your wrist, and get things moving that way. That will pump more fluid around. I think the chi machine is more efficient than this method, but if you don't have a chi machine, you can do this, and you'll really go a long way towards, again, removing toxins and boosting your immune function. It's really massive. Don't underestimate how beneficial and how much impact this L-COT, or lymph channel optimization technique, as I call it, will have on your health. I recommend you do it every day. Now, there's one more system inside the body that I want to talk about, and it's called the Glymphatic system. It's similar to the lymphatic system, but it's for our brain and nervous system. The Glymphatic system is the nervous system's version of the lymph system. All right, it's our body's way of detoxifying our brains and supplying needed nutrients. Instead of using lymph to do the work, the Glymphatic system uses the cerebral spinal fluid inside the spine for clearance of toxins and delivery of certain key nutrients. It removes waste material and toxins, a cellular waste, and it distributes nutrients like glucose, fats, lipids, amino acids, and neurotransmitters to the brain. So here's what happens. When we sleep, our bodies are going through all kinds of amazing processes, and this is one of them. During sleep, our brain cells actually shrink by up to 60% in volume. That's huge. And once it does that, it relieves the pressure on the fluid, and it allows the fluid to pass from the spinal cord into the brain and flow through the brain cells and flush things out. It's a brilliant, exquisite system. We almost don't even have to think about it. It happens in our sleep, but our bodies are hard at work. And one of the things it does is it clears beta amyloid, which is a protein that forms a plaque that's been associated with Alzheimer's disease. It also clears alpha-synuclein, or ASYN. ASYN is another protein waste product that's been associated with Parkinson's. Now, dysfunction in the glymphatic system will impede the removal of neurotoxins, which has many implications for all kinds of health conditions like MS, multiple sclerosis, traumatic brain injury, CTE, chronic traumatic encephalopathy. That's when a boxer or a football player or maybe a soccer player received repeated head injuries and there's damage to the brain. Getting the lymphatic system activated will improve those conditions. It will improve stroke victims' state of mind. It will also reduce cognitive decline with aging. So it's a super important thing to think about. Now, how do we get better clearance? Well, the first thing we got to think about is getting good sleep. So we want about at least 7 hours of sleep, maybe 7 to 9 hours of sleep if you can do it. I know that's tough, but you want to try to get good quality sleep. Now, the next episode 164, is going to be pillar number 9. We're going to be talking all about sleep. We're going to talk about what happens during sleep, how we get better sleep. It's going to be a really good episode, so don't miss that one. But I do want to mention I have a sleep protocol on my full script dispensary as well. If you aren't interested in that, just check out my full script dispensary. If you don't have an account, christianhealthylifestyle.com/protocols. Set up a free account, and you'll have access to all my protocols. I have a sleep protocol on there with some homeopathics that can really improve the quality of your sleep, the sleep latency, and the amount of deep sleep you get. It's super important. Sleep latency is how long it takes to fall asleep. So check that out. Now, the best position to sleep if you want your glymphatic system to be active is on your side. The right side is best. Left side is almost as good. Then the next position you could sleep in would be on your back. And the worst position you can sleep in as far as glymphatic flow goes is on your stomach. Another way to enhance glymphatic flow is to do exercise. 30 to 45 minutes a day of exercise will really enhance that system and enhance the clearance of toxins from the brain. And of course, doing the L-COT, the lymphatic clearance optimization technique I just showed you, that's going to be huge, because if you're flushing toxins from the brain, you don't want that stuff, the cerebral spinal fluid actually connects to the lymph system, and it has to get through those spots that we massaged earlier. So if you haven't done that, you're not clearing, you're not taking advantage of the glymphatic system's detoxification capability. You're maximizing that capability by doing the L-COT procedure. All right. Another thing is hydrate. Make sure you're well hydrated. You want to drink half your body weight in ounces a day. Don't just chug lug. You want to sip water all day long. Also, you want good posture. You want to be, if you're working at a desk all day long, it's easy to be slunched over and, working on your computer. That's terrible for the upper spine and the back, the mid back as well. And it will inhibit the glymphatic system from working well. So you want to be upright. You want your shoulders to be straight and your arms to hang straight down. What I'm demonstrating right now from the side view is proper posture. So doing that will help. Also, deep breathing exercises will help. And vagal stimulation. The vagus nerve runs from the brainstem all the way down to the gut. And you can stimulate the vagus nerve by humming or gargling. That will also help stimulate the glymphatic system. Also, of course, this kind of goes without saying almost, is a chiropractic adjustment of the cervical spine. If you have a misalignment there, that's going to severely impede things from working the way they're supposed to, from a nervous system level and a detox level. So I recommend chiropractic. If you find a good chiropractor, you can tell them what your goal is here, and they'll check you out. Also, of course, fasting. Fasting is also good for clearing debris out of the body, removing toxins. And by the way, I'm going to be putting together a fasting challenge, and a detox challenge that we'll do after the new year. So be on the lookout for that. So we should be doing all of those things anyway, but the most important thing that I think I mentioned there on the glymphatic system is sleep. So we're going to be talking about that in the next episode. I'm not going to go into any more into that here, but make sure you tune in the next episode. Pillar number 9. We'll be wrapping up this 9 pillars series, and we're going to be talking all things sleep. So that's my thoughts on movement. I hope you found this useful, enlightening, and inspiring. I'd like to reach more people with this message. So if you have a like-minded friend, would you tell them about the show? I sure would appreciate you helping me get the word out. The number one way someone finds a podcast is a friend tells them about it. So would you help me get the word out and tell your friends about the show? The easiest way to do that is to go to my website, christianhealthylifestyle.com/the episode number. This is episode number 163. Copy that URL and text it to a friend. They'll think you're brilliant, and I'll bet they'll thank you for it. That's it for now. Thank you for listening. I appreciate you. Go out there, age gracefully, and live abundantly. I'll talk with you next time. Be blessed.